one is not a Buddhist, how can he practice? Is it possible to practice like
practice meditation?
Yes.
Macam isi micit nangba mena, micit nangba mena, tini kung kom gap tuk sa reve nangba mena yang kom gap tha yor reve.
곰로 치와 낭바요 말이 곰 치바데 세부 내록 다그러래 랑도 세부 내록 감성 신기 생로래 세민이 감성다 야요 말이 조카 노칸 좀이 감성 신기 담지 내와서 뒤지 사지라고 세부 내록도 다그러래 설마 잡고요.
So when it comes to meditation or practice, then there is no Buddhist or non-Buddhist, because what we call meditation is to look at your own mind. And all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara have a mind, and only if they wouldn't have a mind, then we if there would be no mind, we couldn't even talk about the three realms of samsara. There would be nothing there. But we have the desire realm and the form realm and the formless realm. And the Buddha had said, may all beings of the three realms have happiness and the causes of happiness. And so because of that, it shows that they have a mind. And because they have a mind, anyone who has a mind can look at their mind.
But is it necessary to start? So if you want to start meditate with this preliminary practice nandro, or you can do a retreat without it and go to the higher level?
Tirita dina yang kisi nangba mena rwa nangba mena tini ngundu ki riba tamen ta chigi marwa tini nangba mena ngundu ki riba majena yang tini taka skom gyap tang tini ta sa thotse kom gyap tang yora sa kya chembola sopa tini kom gyap tu ki ribe
ngundu shibade chu tangge de ngundu roa yinpi lo semlo ta gona yinpi lo ngundu do go ale 강의들이 쉽게 탐식을 그래도 동해와 동해가 좋아 강의 나래 나 향바지 오늘 나 매와야 말해 요가야 말해 세군대로 해야 돼 예를 들니 주 나한테 매와 줘거나 인피를 놓고 매와 줘는 실제로 줘서 말했지 그 인피를 놓고 맞지와 제가 탑 로도나 봐 이거 제가 뭐냐바 탑을 사촉 제와 뭐냐바 탑을 사족의 생공 공리 고도 배배서로 상하지 라지는 비기데 서우 요거 매도 진행진 도로 생구 내려도 타자와 탑을게 무슨 맞대 좀 그것도 무도 장가적인 요거 말이야 그것도 로는 내가 가르치는 지를 핀고서 로테게 이 시합 연구요 그것도 무도 방향 뭐지 지를 핀고서 로테 다도 좀 연락이 다들 좀 연락이는 피고서 로드 새끼 상태를 요래 생기인데 나도 맞으면 새끼 탑재를 피고서 로드 대상적 생기 너는 인피를 로드 용리들이 로드 있는 용도 요래 인피를 로면은 뭐좀 문제 섬지야는 지하수만 맞도 딱딱한 필요 말이야.
So actually what we call the preliminaries, the preliminary or the mundro of all the Dharma practice is the altruistic mind. And if you really want to see the nature of your mind, you actually must have an altruistic mind as a preliminary. So all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara experience suffering. And the root of that suffering is a self. It is that concept of an I. And actually an I, a self, does not exist. There is no self, but also it is not that there is nothing. There is the natural state of the mind. And in order to understand it, we need to cultivate an altruistic mind. And there is no other way to actually see the nature of the mind. And so therefore, the Buddha gave a skillful means, a method to cultivate the altruistic mind, where it has not yet arisen, and that is to reflect on the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. And then secondly, to not let it decline where it has arisen, and that is to cultivate bodhicitta. And then to increase bodhicitta, that is the path of the Vajrayana, where we practice the deities. And so in this way, it is just like the growing of a flower from a seed into a sprout into a flower. Actually, we focus on the numbers of accumulations when we practice the Ngundro. But even if you don't know anything about the Ngundro, even if you don't know anything about those accumulations and numbers, whatever you do, if you just have an altruistic mind that wishes to benefit others, it is actually enough. If you only have an altruistic mind, that is kind of the preliminary. And that is actually something that all sentient beings have. It is because they have a mind, naturally, the nature of that mind is to have a care, an altruistic mind towards others to some extent, but only when one has a wish to benefit all beings, then it is called bodhicitta. So really the actual preliminary is the altruistic mind, and if you do not have this altruistic mind as a preliminary, then even if you accumulate hundreds of thousands of 300, 400,000 of Ngundro accumulations, it's really of not much benefit. Certainly not in this life, maybe in future lives.
다 것도 남과 잡아 상기를 나서 생기를 사제가 가래라 버리 생기 남네 상제니 생기 탐지 저도 잡아 상기를 공장 로버를 때문에 답답이 좀 도지 좀 딱 봤은 거야. 책 대기만 봐도 지라 쓴 거리 생기 저도 잡아 상기를 공장 로버를 때문에 로버트 막 가래리 다지 미디데 로버트 말이 그 유는 고 차선 새끼 탐지 사제 여버지 잡고 쳐보나지 오늘들 로버트만 가지 다 이제 나라 차 이는 당신이 천 차롱도 차선 다 새끼 탐지 동네 시고는 가이고리 네 다디도 시고리 다디도 뉴모 뭐 제적 다 공부 뉴모 다디 나라 차니 그 뉴모 봐 다뭐 유목 독성지 들이 독나치 들이 유목 독기 때를 독독이 유목 저제 동지 와리 질 때를 들은 도와를 독 섭적으로 도와를 독 차송을 들이 담고 나지 저거 타마셨다 뭔가든 세분내로 문에 가르리 때나 다다는 게 나오냐 맞아 통고요 대회는 들이 딱 나오냐 맞아 매바고나 들이 다다다 다한테도 미술아 차오름도 시원을 갈래 철 차노래 상바도 이제 도 따버려 다한테도 나도 잡고 따버려 땅발 자감는 자감도 대해요 진짜 참 지금 고와된 차오름도 고로를 놓으려 유티스 구고 손에 코로 장소 류닝 고와지 생고랑 사제는 내가 다 차를 류를 다 코를 류코를 생제 관 고야요 말이지 오다그게나 이다 상바던 힘기를 띠니 나디 매발 차선 상반지게 쩌담치나들이 세비 자치고 차고요 대차선들이 뒤까지 저를 세무들 오 세비 남칼이 차대요 들이 남칼이 매와 하고 동단도 대방거니 또 이매 동단도 대만 통지기 사바체미 바 힘게 체미 바 찐 세무 따라 세무 잡을을 잡고 차고 사람들 잡을링은 차대요 대체 세무를 때려 세무 남칼이 오 또 세무는 이미도 세 너무 저기 보이는 코디에 터지들이 너무 약하다 그래 이 차도상 이제 저밖에 하고 나중에 이메와 하고 때도 남고 되면 통제가 나가래 뭐도 생고 내려오시나 이메와 하고 저거래 또나 다들 갈게 강에 자롱 줘서 약지 쳐도 쭉 차서 사제가 사제 생기 찍게 기와데 자롱도 쳐지 쭉 와야 되려고 그래
So when we ask a question about what is meditation, often when we try to figure it out, we are asking questions about like a tree, for example. We are asking questions about the branches and the leaves of the tree, but we do not inquire into the roots, the essence of the tree. So when it comes to meditation practice, we should not focus on the various branches and so on, but really look at the essence of what is it actually, why are we meditating, what is the purpose of meditation. The purpose of meditation, of all practice, is to ultimately realize the nature of your mind. And so how is that mind then? So from our ordinary perspective, now first it seems that there is a duality. We for example, speak about a duality of sentient beings and Buddhas. And then however, the Buddha actually, from the Buddha's perspective, the Buddha had said all beings are really Buddhas. You all are actually Buddhas. Beings are only obscured by temporary stains. And for example, this quote by the Buddha is something that Garchen Rinpoche had always mentioned. Actually, aside from these two lines here, he didn't say much else. But this is what he always said. He said, you all are really Buddhas, only obscured by temporary stains. And so that temporary stain is that belief in a duality of self and other. And because we have habituated to that for a very long time, it becomes very solid. So sentient beings therefore appear like ice blocks floating on the ocean being just like the Buddha mind. And temporarily, we believe in the duality of self and other, and therefore we are attached to ourselves and we have an aversion against the other. And this belief makes the mind become like a block of ice, and therefore we suffer. And so if sentient beings want to become free of suffering, they must separate themselves from self-grasping. And all of the various afflictive emotions, the 84,000 different afflictions, come from the root of self-grasping. It is because of this fundamental attachment to the self. So first there is that, and then from that arise the 3 poisons, the 5 poisons, the 6 afflictive emotions, and then these 6 afflictions multiply, each combined with each other. So in the end we have 84,000 afflictions. And for this reason there is this diversity of sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara, even though they have a single mind. So ultimately we need to free ourselves from self-grasping, and that is the point of meditation. We free ourselves from self-grasping when we see the nature of the mind. And so when you look at the mind right now, what you see is this idea of an I, a self. So that is like this ice block. And when this ice block melts, then eventually it will fall into the ocean. In order to melt, it needs heat or warmth. And the warmth that makes it melt is love and compassion. The grasping at a self is like the weather getting cold. And then it always stays in a freezer, for example. It always remains cold. And in that way we continue to circle like ice blocks in the ocean of samsara. Chigden Sumgön had said that what wanders in samsara is actually the body. It is that the mind temporarily grasps at various habitual imprints that identifies with the body, that create this body, and this body created by imprints wanders in samsara, circles in samsara. But actually the mind itself never really goes anywhere, it never circles in samsara. And so it is through love and compassion that we can destroy self-grasping. The stronger your love, the more vast will be your mind. And then at the moment when the mind is vast, when you look at that mind, it becomes